The debut race. The moment every single F1 driver dreams of getting, until they decide to bin it on lap 1 into the gravel trap. Sorry, Isaac Hadjar. Today, we're looking at how every current F1 driver during the 2025 season performed in their debut race. Some were absolutely brilliant, some were brave, and some, well, let's just wish they had an undo button. Today, we're looking into how every current F1 driver performed in their debut race. Roll the intro. Lando Norris made his Formula 1 debut during the 2019 season at the Australian Grand Prix with the McLaren team. He qualified a very impressive P8, which at that time for the McLaren team was an absolute miracle considering it had the pace of a hired go-kart. During the race, he actually was in the points positions for quite a while, but unfortunately due to the McLaren car, his place slowly faded over time, but he still finished an impressive P12 in his debut race. No debut point, but he scored 49 points across the season and finished 11th overall, just outside of the top 10. Now we're moving on to Kimi Räikkönen, Oscar Piastri, the new Iceman. Oscar Piastri debuted during the 2023 Bahrain Grand Prix, also for the McLaren team, just like his teammate Lando Norris. But unfortunately, his debut went rather south. He qualified 18th place, and also he had to retire on lap 14 due to an electrical problem with his car. The McLaren car was absolutely shocking at the start of the 2023 Grand Prix, which is a massive difference compared to how the car is now when they're winning races and won the Constructors title during the 2024 season. However, this did not stop Piastri from doing well that season. During that season, he scored 97 points overall and also got his first race win, which was a sprint race win in Qatar. Overall, outperforming expectations of a new rookie. The one and only Max Verstappen made his Formula 1 debut during 2015 and, once again, at the Australian Grand Prix. He also drove for the Toro Rosso team at the time. Do you know what the wild part is? He debuted for the team at just 17 years old, becoming the youngest ever F1 driver to race in F1, and that will probably forever be the record. In some countries, he is still illegally allowed to drive a car around wherever that country may be, but F1 thought, screw it. Put him in an 850 horsepower car and let him rip it. He qualified P12, which is actually really impressive for a rookie, and also he was doing really well in the midfield pack of the race, but unfortunately he retired on lap 37 of the race due to an engine problem. Despite the DNF, he was the youngest ever F1 driver, and 2 races later was the youngest ever F1 driver to score points during their race. Liam Lawson finally got his shot at F1 during the Dutch Grand Prix in 2023, where he replaced an injured Daniel Ricciardo, who injured his hand. This is for the AlphaTauri team, which is now called the Visa Cash App Red Bull, Visa, whatever you want to call that name. I'm not going to explain to you. Basically, the RB. He qualified 19th, but due to some changes to the car, he started from the pit lane, which basically meant he started P20. The worst thing of all, it was a wet weather race, which for rookies basically means it's time to bin it in the wall. But not for Liam Lawson. He only finished P13, but managed not to bin the car and drove an extremely impressive race, which everyone thought was super good at the time. Unfortunately, now we're looking at Liam Lawson, and 2 times in a row during the Chinese Grand Prix in 2025, he's decided to qualify P20. Hopefully he decides to improve soon. George Russell's debut came at the 2019 Australian Grand Prix, where he drove for the Williams team. At that time, he qualified 19th and finished the race overall 16th, but he did beat his teammate Robert Kubica during the race. And you have to remember, at that time, the Williams car had the aerodynamic range of pretty much a fridge. Unfortunately, he scored no points during the 2020 season. I'm pretty certain Robert Kubica only scored 1 point during that season, but his talent was undoubtedly clear, and it's proven more so when he's joined the Mercedes team. Kimi Antonelli made his debut for the Mercedes team at the 2025 Australian Grand Prix, becoming the 3rd youngest ever F1 driver to join the F1 grid. The worst thing of all, it was a wet and unpredictable race conditions. He qualified P16 due to him making a mistake which caused him to have floor damage, so he had to go out during Q3. But thanks to a bit of luck, a really good strategy and some fearless overtakes, he managed to finish P4 during his first race, which in a wet weather racing as a rookie is super impressive. This instantly marks him as the driver to watch this season. Charles Leclerc is known for being Mr. Ferrari. We all believe him as the Ferrari guy, but he actually made his debut at the 2018 Australian Grand Prix with the Sauber team. By the way, make sure to comment down below how many times I said Australian Grand Prix during this video, because it's going to be a lot. He qualified with that car 18th place going out in Q1 and managed to keep his nose clean and get into 13th position during the race. He scored his first ever F1 points just 2 races later at Baku and finished the season with 39 points, considerably outperforming his teammate Marcus Ericsson. Lewis Hamilton's legendary career started at the 2007 Australian Grand Prix, where he debuted with the McLaren team, and it was jaw-dropping. Even during practice, he got P3 in FP2 and P3 during FP3 as well, and he qualified P4, which was an exceptional result. Not only that, he overtook his teammate Fernando Alonso into turn 1 and eventually finished on the podium in his debut race, the most impressive showing from a rookie in their debut race of all time. He ended the season tied on points with Fernando Alonso and only lost this title by one singular point. If debuts were a movie trailer, his would be a blockbuster. Fernando Alonso's long career started at the 2001 Australian Grand Prix, where he drove for the Minardi team. Bloomin' hell, 24 years ago Fernando Alonso debuted. That's older than me. He qualified 19th, which at the time wasn't too bad, and finished the race 12th, but there was a lot of DNF. Given the car, which was the Minardi car, which wasn't great, that is a seriously impressive result still. He stayed out of trouble during the race, which had several DNFs, like I mentioned, and his talents were undoubtedly shown, later securing him 2 World Championships. Daddy's boy Lance Stroll is next, and our favourite money man himself is here. He debuted at, once again, the Australian Grand Prix back in 2017 with the Williams team. He qualified P19, but unfortunately due to brake-related issues, he had to retire on lap 25. But hey, Lance Stroll managed to get a podium during his rookie season, and he's made a career out of proving people wrong. I meant proving people right, I guess. He keeps spinning into people and keeps crashing, so take it as you will. Pierre Gasly made his Formula 1 debut for the Toro Rosso team at the 2017 Malaysian Grand Prix as a mid-season swap for a driver. At last, not an Australian Grand Prix, thank the Lords. He qualified 15th and finished the race 14th. There wasn't really much to say about Pierre Gasly's debut, as nothing exceptional happened, but it laid the groundwork for what would be a really good career for Pierre Gasly, having a race win and a current seat at the Alpine team. Jack Doohan got his first taste of F1 action at the 2024 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, in which he filled the seat of the vacant Esteban Ocon, who got booted out of his Alpine seat for really no reason at all. He qualified absolutely dead last, but finished the race 15th. Yes, there was at least 3 DNFs on the top of my memory, but he still did okay for his debut race. He had no blue flag violations, and there was at least one shot of his dad nervously looking from the pit wall at Jack Doohan. Nothing flashy from his debut, but he stayed safe in a high pressure moment for him. Alex Albon debuted at the 2019 Australian Grand Prix. Way! We've returned to Australia. He debuted with the Toro Rosso team, where he qualified 13th and finished 14th. Nothing flashy, but respectable for a rookie. He ran an extremely long stint on hard tyres, which proved to be an okay decision by the team. No points were scored, but it proved enough to get him a mid-season promotion to the Red Bull team, where he scored his eventual first points in China just 2 races later. Carlos Sainz made his debut at the Toro Rosso team in 2015, alongside the now 4-time world champion Max Verstappen. But how did his debut go compared to Max Verstappen? Well, a lot better actually. He qualified P8, which is extremely impressive, and actually finished the race in the points with a P9 position. So he not only out-qualified Max Verstappen, he also out-raced Max Verstappen during that weekend. If you're going to make a statement, doing it at Max's expense is definitely one way to do it. Yuki Tsunoda exploded into the F1 scene during the 2021 Bahrain Grand Prix. He debuted for the AlphaTauri team, where he qualified 13th, but finished 9th in his very first race as a rookie, scoring points on his debut. What makes it even better is that he overtook Lance Stroll on the very last lap to go from P10 to P9. Then he got on the radio and unleashed a few words that I can't strictly say here, but he was fast, furious, and definitely a talent to watch out for. Isaac Hadjar got promoted from F2 to F1 during the 2025 Australian Grand Prix, where he debuted for the RB team. He qualified a very strong 11th, which actually put him at the top of the rookie qualifying session out of all the new rookies for the 25 season. But that all came crashing down, where he crashed on the formation lap of the Grand Prix, ending his race before the race really even begun. A tough moment for the rookie, but during his second qualifying session at the Chinese Grand Prix, we saw him get an extremely impressive P7 qualifying session. So he's shown some real pace so far, and is slowly becoming a fan favourite for all the F1 fans. Esteban Ocon made his debut at the 2016 Belgian Grand Prix for the Manor team. Nothing too flashy here. He qualified 18th and finished 16th during the race. While he didn't make any necessarily big moves on his debut, it laid a foundation for what would be a pretty successful career for Esteban Ocon, when he eventually built on that experience and won the only race for the Alpine team in 2021. Oliver Bearman was thrown in the very deep end during the 2023 Saudi Arabia Grand Prix, where he had to replace an injured Carlos Sainz. Now, what makes this story even more interesting is that he wasn't even supposed to be racing that weekend. This is a very last minute decision, and he already done the qualifying for the F2 race. He qualified 11th, just finishing outside of reaching into that Q3 section, but drove an absolutely beautiful race for the Ferrari team, where he finished 7th position, ahead of people like Lewis Hamilton and Lando Norris. Ollie Bearman now currently drives for the Haas team, and unfortunately didn't have quite the debut for Haas that he did at Ferrari. Nico Hülkenberg made his debut at the Bahrain Grand Prix during the 2010 season with Williams. He qualified 13th and finished 14th, which is a very Hülkenberg start to his career. He showed great one-lap pace, showed really good race pace, but still didn't get a podium. 15 years later, and some things never truly change. But hey, he's probably the best driver to never hit the champagne bowl. Now moving on to the final driver, Gabriel Bortoleto. Gabriel Bortoleto won the 2024 F2 season, beating Isaac Hadjar in the final race of the season, and he made his debut for the Kick Sauber team at the 2025 Australian Grand Prix. He qualified P14 in very tricky conditions, which is extremely good considering the car he has got. He showed very competitive pace early on, but unfortunately lost control of the car and crashed on lap 36 of the Grand Prix. No points and didn't finish on his debut, but showed some actual real pace and some real talent, unlike what Helmut Marko suggested. Don't trust that guy, and not a single word he says. There it is. That is how every single current F1 driver did on their debut race. From formation lap crashes to instant podium positions, this shows how unpredictable the world of F1 can be. Who had the best debut in your eyes? Who showed some of the best promise out of all the rookies? Let me know down in the comments below, but make sure to like and subscribe to see more F1 content like this. But for now, see you on the next one.